Any opposed? Agenda passes unanimously. You've been provided a copy of our standing business for the evening, which includes our prior meeting minutes from our meeting on March 6th, the current claims, and the payroll allowance docket from February 27th to March 26th. Entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
I have a motion by BJ Steele. Seconded by Ruthie Jackson. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I don't believe we had anyone sign up for public comments, and our legislative youth advisor was unable to be with us tonight. Mayor's comments, I had two items to mention to you. One is that after conversations with local emergency management here in Clark County, but also in the city of Sullivan, which was recently hit Friday night by a series of tornadoes that went through the area, Sullivan has requested emergency supplies in the form of paper products, feminine hygiene products, cleaning supplies, especially laundry detergent in small bottles for displaced residents, baby wipes and items such as that. As you can see at the back of the room, we are collecting donations today and tomorrow with a truck that's supposed to go up. I believe that there's a likelihood that the emergency management truck itself will make a delivery up there tomorrow, Wednesday. So tomorrow, feel free to still bring some of those items in to provide some relief assistance for the city of Sullivan. The second thing I have for you is actually, I'm going to hand out a memo for you. This is not for your action tonight, just for consideration. And I'll make sure, let's see, Ruthie, can you make sure the attorneys each get a copy for it? And I'll email this out to our council members who were unable to be with us tonight. Again, not seeking action tonight, just wanted to present it as an idea to the council. Last year I asked, and BJ, this shouldn't be a surprise to you, we've talked, I think this is redevelopment. So last year I asked the redevelopment commission to entertain the idea of a revolving loan fund that would provide a restaurant incentive to create new dining opportunities. This is a response that we see often from residents and even from people that are inquiring about opening places here in Charlestown. And they vetted it through a process. They kind of had a subcommittee members, John Spencer, who's head of the Chamber of Commerce, and member Bobby Brooks, who is with a local bank, vetted out the process with Jill Segasser for the Wheatley Group. And essentially, I'm asking the council to consider creating the fund out of the EDIT fund. This must be funded, if we're going to fund it, with local income tax. And I verified with Clerk Treasurer Donna Coomer that there is residual fund available in the EDIT fund in the amount of $50,000. And I would like to know if the council is amenable to pursuing this further. Again, this is not the ordinance, this is not the action. I'm just presenting the idea to you because ultimately this would be council approval. So what I would like to do is get your feel for this. If it's something you think you'd be interested in learning more about, I would then request that the Redevelopment Commission put together an actual plan and then also have the redevelopment attorney get with our attorneys as well, Perry and Michael, to draft what that ordinance would look like. Essentially the way it would work is if there's a $50,000 revolving fund established for this purpose, I would ask that the Redevelopment Commission, especially with those two subgroup members, be authorized to review the applications that come in based on their qualifications as being people who would be willing to do that. Then the Redevelopment Commission itself would simply be making a recommendation to those who would qualify to the council, and the council would have final approval on those loans. There are multiple ways this could work. This could be used for everything from purchasing property for a restaurant, making site improvements, improving or constructing infrastructure for the project, purchasing machinery, equipment, and furnishings. This basically is designed to be gap funding. It's not intended to fund an entire project. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have, but before we proceeded much further with the Redevelopment Commission, I just wanted to bring it to you to see if you were amenable to the idea of exploring this further.
The biggest question that I get is restaurants.
Yeah, it's one of the, in listening to sessions we've had or feedback that we've requested through surveys, that's one of the number one things. And I think with the amount of construction alone that's about to happen in the city with the Forest Edge Apartments, the Renaissance Apartments are in phase 2, as Shadow Lake begins expanding, we have obviously outstanding restaurants here, but the daytime population is about to be much larger. And if we can encourage the development of additional restaurants, especially for people who live here and have good business models and good ideas and want to put those into practice, this might be the thing that helps them recycle.
And so it's for new only, existing couldn't use it if they were
It's-
refinancing to do upgrades?
It could be for both.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be established for both. All of that would be done with the program that would be recommended, and that's why we have it. They've done an initial review and kind of initial assessment of how this would work. But before we proceeded any further with any time, it was important to bring it to the council, since ultimately the council would be making the decision and approval of those loans, if it was to happen. So before we invest any more time on it, it was appropriate to bring it to you to say, because if it's something you're definitely not interested in, we won't go any further. If it's something you want to just at least pursue over the next month, we can take that. There's no rush on this. Just wanted some kind of consensus on whether or not to move forward.
I kind of see it as kind of part of the facade program
Mm-hmm.
that we did, so it's kind of.
And it could be done in iteration with that if you had a building. So this could, in theory, this could work for both, right? So you could have an investor who comes in and purchases a building and also does a facade grant on that, which would be up to $10,000, and then, have some gap funding as well for their operations costs, machinery, equipment, things that the facade grant doesn't cover, because the facade grant doesn't cover anything inside the store, so.
And we're setting aside $50,000 to start this. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, the initial amount would be no more than $50,000 for this year.
And then the max per person or per business would be, that's to be determined?
That can be determined by the ordinance, yes. I have not put that in because that would be, you would be establishing that with the ordinance.
And is this a payback loan or is
Yes.
this free?
It's payback, it's not a grant, so it's a low interest. The way that typically they're finding that they're working is some element of maybe 2/3 of prime rate, fixed interest for 10 years, sometimes they do 5 years, just depends. And again, all that can be established in the program within the ordinance that you would adopt to approve this.
And if the business starts and it don't make it,
Then it would be in default to us. The city would be the pay.
we would pay.
Yes. There would be an application process. These would be vetted. There's a bank, they would require banks to sign on to this as well. They would have to put up collateral, all those types of things. And again, every bit of that would be discussed before you were ever asked to actually pass action that would make it formal. And then ultimately, the council would have the approval of the loans. So if the program is adopted and we get it moving forward, then the redevelopment commission takes the applications, reviews them, makes they would come as a formal recommendation, similar to the way the plan commission makes formal recommendations to the council, and then you have final action. This would function similarly. So the redevelopment commission would review the applications as they came in, decide whether or not to make those recommendations to the council, and the council would receive the recommendation and then be able to either approve or deny the loan.
I guess what's the difference in if we're gonna help them get a loan from a bank, what's the difference in
The loan would come through us, but we are requiring banks you can require there to be other bank financing too, so that they're having to kind of provide that credit, through that as well. But the loan would be through the city, through the edit fund. Feel like, okay. Then I will report back to the redevelopment commission and have the subcommittee draft up a plan, and then have the attorneys all get together to construct an ordinance for your review. Circulate that, and just as you get, once you get it to a comfortable spot, ask you to consider action on that, okay? All right, thank you all so much. That's all the comments I had. I would open up to council comments. None? Okay. We have a public hearing. So ordinance and resolution, our first ordinance is ordinance 2023 OR5. This is the second reading of the additional appropriation ordinance, whereby we would give our opioid settlement unrestricted and restricted funds to the Medela House. This was discussed at the last meeting. They made a presentation. It was approved unanimously on first reading, so this is the second and final reading of that ordinance. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by BJ Steele,
Second.
seconded by Bo Bertram. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. And then, other action item is a resolution, Resolution 2023 R3. This is approving the issuance of taxable tax increment revenue bonds by the City of Charleston Redevelopment District for the Forest Edge project. So we can get it on the table and then ask anybody who would need to come forward to do so, or ask questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by BJ Steele,
Second.
second by Ricky Jackson. All right, under discussion, did you guys have any questions? Do we need to have presentation from legal counsel on this?
Interest rate says it cannot exceed 8, so that's like, I guess somebody, the bank would sign off if it's not gonna exceed, or is it gonna be a fluctuating amount up to that? Like, so they're gonna.
Right, I think we have representatives here who can answer any questions about the interest rate. If you'll just come forward and share with us your name
And then,
Hi there, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Madam President, members of council. My name is Greg Clark. I'm with Steep Financial Corporation. We were brought in to assist in this, in the placement of this debt for this project. We provided some feedback, I hope that you got in the memo. The purpose of the interest rate that is listed in the ordinance is, or the resolution is, a not to exceed amount. So in the event we went out and we were going to sell these bonds and we were coming to a point where it would exceed that stated amount, we wouldn't be able to do the transaction without coming back to the legislative body for approval. We usually build in quite a bit of cushion in that, but as you've known in the past 6 to 8 months, we've seen a lot of volatility. We've seen rates going all over the place in a matter of days. We've seen it in hours. And so we put a pretty conservative number in there because when we were initially doing this, it's much like it is today, you know, especially in the private placement world. We're just seeing such volatility that we haven't seen in the market since, you know, the 2008 financial crisis. But I can say that from preliminary feedback, I don't believe it will be close to that number. I think we'll see a much lower number. But again, when we gave that amount, our thought was, let's do it at a place where, you know, it wouldn't require a revisit to the council. We don't think that it will go over that amount. And if it does, we wouldn't be able to do it.
I think he was asking, is it a variable rate,
No,
or is
we're
it
gonna
fixed?
fix this rate.
So it's fixed,
It will be
below
a fixed
8%.
rate. No, there'll be no rate reset until the final maturity of the debt. So, once we lock it in on the date and the papers are signed, that rate will be the same rate you have until you have your first time, opportunity to refund that. So, that will be a fixed rate.
And we can refinance
Yes,
and go
ma'am.
lower.
Yes, ma'am, that's all negotiable. So we'll, depending on the rate, you know, the standard in our industry is usually 10 years, but it's negotiable now, especially on the private placement side. So we'll try to get what makes the most sense, because usually if you have a lower call date, refunding date, you're gonna pay a little bit of a premium for that. But you can negotiate that. So those are all things that we'll work with the city and their team, and their entire team, to make sure we get that right balance of what makes the most sense and how much are we gonna pay in a premium to bring that down from the standard 10 years. But I've seen these do anywhere from 3 to 5 years. We might be able to get it done. So our goal will be to get you a refinancing date as soon as possible without having to pay any premium or much premium up front.
And if we pay it off early, there's no penalty either.
That's negotiable. Usually there's not, but sometimes there can be. But that's why you have sort of the call date for refinancing. But, you know, again, those are things we will work out with the bank and make sure that, you know, I don't want, I wouldn't want to put the city in a position where you can get the prepayment penalty waived, but you're also paying such a high amount. So we're gonna balance those things, but yes, those are all factors that, again, we will work with the mayor's office and the financing team to make sure that all of the right pieces of this fit together to meet everyone's needs on project execution.
And one more question. The payment that we're gonna take in from Forest Edge is more than what the payment will be.
Right, we are requiring them to sign a minimum taxpayer agreement.
Right.
So, and the scenario that they've provided is that if it was 7.5% interest, it would be approximately $260,000 a year payment. However, we're expecting tax revenue from this site in excess of that, to the tune of about a little over $300,000. Potentially more, but in the event that it didn't reach that minimum taxpayer agreement of the $300,000, then they would be required to pay, the developer would be able to pay the difference between the two, where it's assessed and what the minimum was.
And if there's extra, can we pay that towards the balance? I know we like to keep that in a tip for other projects, but can we pay extra? If the payment in a year is $260 and we get $360, could we pay $100,000 extra on it, or how does that?
It depends on how the cash flows will work. Either that or, you know, we're gonna have to look, and I've looked at legal counsel too, to kind of advise on how those are structured, but we could put into the indenture that these funds shall be used for, you know, however the city decides. But I think to the mayor's point, even at 7.5%, you're well over coverage.
Right.
And so, assuming we are able to achieve a better rate, which I stand here today with confidence that we will be under 7.5% or 8%. I believe those issues of a prepayment can be dealt with the documents and with the term sheet as we send it out to potential lenders. Because again, I don't want to offer something up to allow that. It's kind of a negotiation, so I want to see if they're willing to give that to me automatically without me having to ask for it.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of 2023 R3, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Unless there's any other business from legal or any, Donna is good, see this to sign, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by BJ Steele, or a second?
Second.
Second by BJ Jackson. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.